In other news, transgender athletes competing in women's sports continuing to draw controversy. Some refusing to sit on the sidelines when it comes to protecting women.
That includes Selina Soule. She's a former Connecticut high school track and field athlete who was forced to compete against biological men in dozens of events starting back in 2017. As you might expect, Selina came up short in every one of those events against biological males.
And in fact, recently she penned an article for the Washington Examiner, part of which reads, quote, "Why are so many of our representatives turning a blind eye to the death threats I received and the bullying and shaming that I and other female athletes received when all we ask for is for fairness to be restored to our sports? Fairness for women and girls who want to compete in sports should not be political. It should be common sense," end quote. Selina is here with us now. She is joined by her legal representative, Matt Sharp, a senior counsel for Alliance Defending Freedom, through which a federal lawsuit has been filed against the Connecticut Association of Schools. We'll dive into the lawsuit in just a bit. Selina, let's start with you if we can. Just set this up for us. What did you go through in competition in high school and then moving forward, trying to speak out for yourself, for other women? What roadblocks did you face doing so?
So I had to compete against not one, but two biological males throughout all 4 years of high school. And I raced against these athletes dozens and dozens of times and was never close to winning a single time. So I lost out on higher placements and advancement opportunities. And it was a very devastating thing to have to go through. So at just 15 years old, I decided to start speaking out and asking for fairness to be restored to my sport. And along the way, I've gotten a lot of backlash and retaliation from coaches in the media and state legislators. Our sports governing body didn't want to do anything to stand up and protect us. But I've also gotten messages of love and support from across the globe of people thanking me for what I'm doing. So there's been a lot of positive throughout all this negativity.
Well, that's good to hear, because it does. It takes some bravery to speak out, by the way, even though it shouldn't have to. And Matt, we'll bring you into this conversation as well, because now you're taking a legal approach to attempt to get some justice here for Selina and maybe the other young women who are trying to have a fair playing field. Can you tell us about that?
That's right. We're challenging Connecticut's policy as violating Title IX. We all know Title IX was written to protect fairness in women's sports, to ensure they get equal opportunities. So not only do we challenge this policy as violating the rights of Selina and the other young women we're representing, but we want the record set straight. We want Selina and these other women recognized as the champions that they rightfully deserved. And so we want those records restored and ultimately justice to be done for Selina and women across the country that have lost out to opportunities to men.
And we've heard countless stories, unfortunately, here on National Report of similar situations, much similar as yours, Selina. We read a little bit about that article, from that article that you wrote for the Washington Examiner, where you described death threats that you and other female athletes received. Could you talk a little bit about that, and then trying to move past those moments? Did it bring some of you together? Can you share some of that?
So all of the negative comments that I've received have been through social media, and I don't put much mind to it. I know that none of those people would say any of that to my face, so I try to move past that and focus on all the messages of love and support. But I'm sure every one of the other girls in this fight have also received those negative and nasty comments, because it's just the nature of fighting for something so controversial that, quite frankly, shouldn't be controversial. This is a common sense issue, and men have no place in women's sports. I mean, sports are about biology and not identity. But for me, I focus on all the messages of love and support that I receive.
That's good. Focus on the positive and know that this is a very clearly supported viewpoint that you have, Selina, despite maybe some of the louder voices that just offer this opposing viewpoint. Matt, I'm wondering, though, what justice really looks like. Obviously, high school's 4 years, so you've got a limited time frame here. You're missing out on these opportunities. We know how long the legal system can sometimes last. What does this look like? What sort of testimony can we expect to hear? And can there be a chance that this will stop so young girls won't have to go through this soon?
I think so. In fact, Selina's case is one of many that Alliance Defending Freedom is bringing. We want justice for Selina. We want those records properly restored so that what happened to her doesn't happen to any other young woman in Connecticut. But ultimately, we want the Supreme Court to weigh on this. So we've got two cases we've asked the Supreme Court to take where we're defending laws that Idaho and West Virginia passed, making sure that fairness is preserved in women's sports. So we hope the Supreme Court will ultimately weigh in on this issue, reaffirm that Title IX does not allow men in to compete in women's sports. And that way, no matter where a young woman lives, whether she's in West Virginia, Idaho, or Connecticut, she will be guaranteed a fair and level playing field moving forward. And that's ultimately how we make sure that what happened to Selina never, ever happens again in our country.
Selina, if you could touch on politics in this moment and this topic that has come up and has really separated, specifically for Democrats, seemingly supporting, again, biological men to be able to compete with women's sports. When you watch this, maybe you watch it on social media, maybe you watch television news, whichever way you consume the news, what are you seeing with politicians?
I'm seeing that, unfortunately, the Democrats aren't willing to stand up and protect women. They're putting their party first instead of their constituents first. And it's just really upsetting to see that. And I would tell all of those Democrats to think of their daughters and their nieces, their granddaughters, every single woman in their life. Would you want them to be forced into a situation where they have to compete against a man, change in a locker room next to a man, share a bathroom with a man? These are private women's spaces, and they should be kept as such. And men have no place in any of those women's places.
Yeah, so well said. It seems obvious, and yet we're taking it to court to get this point across. We'll keep an eye, again, on this legal challenge here. Selina Soule and Matt Sharp, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.